Welcome, dear listener, to the Secrets for a Happy Life podcast, born from my desire to share the knowledge I've acquired on leading a better life, interwoven with diverse experiences from my travels, years of studying psychology, and life lessons. I'm Petra Kmetec-Bitens, your guide on this journey on rediscovering joy, productivity, and the essence of living a fulfilled life.
Oh, good to see
Good
you. How are you?
You too. Fine. You?
Yes, I'm doing well, thank you.
Mhm.
And hello to everyone joining us for our weekly conversation, our Mindful Mondays.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about today, really.
Yeah,
Like we're gonna talk a bit today and tell something good about whatever comes up.
yeah. So we were both running this poll, asking people what would be actually useful or interesting for them to hear today. And on my end, actually, people were quite keen to hear about our personal experiences. I don't know what your responses were, and perhaps if there are any personal experiences that come up for you that you would like to share with us today.
Yeah, for me it was the same also. Like what happened to you, and this is something that I think people like to hear about, how we deal with situations and how we, as like people that are really deeply into psychology and all this psychology stuff, how we deal with life. Yeah, for me, what I wanted to share was I was in one situation where I said yes because it seems like a good idea, and then when I involved and I was with that person in interaction, it was, I wouldn't say it's a business interaction, but it was something in between. And then my whole body started to say, no, please go out of this. But my mind was keep rationalizing, but it's okay, you can pull it through, you're tougher than you think, it's not such a big deal, like everything's gonna be okay. But when I was thinking about having another call with this person, my body was just no, please don't do that. And then I started to think about, if my whole body is reacting the way it does to that person, why my mind want to go through with it? Just because I said I'm going to do something, we don't have to go through it if we don't feel like it. And it was also when I was thinking then later about our talk, about what we were discussing and how that person was reacting towards what I had to say, it wasn't okay. So I'm proud of myself that I said, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I told her that I'm not going to do it anymore. And everything is okay now. And I feel good about this, that I was just listening to what my body is telling me, because I think our bodies are so much wiser than we give them credit for. And if we would just listen to ourselves, I think we would have better lives. What do you think? Did you have any experience like this, that you maybe did follow through what your body said, and maybe when you didn't follow through, like you said, okay, it's gonna be okay and I'm just gonna go?
Well, thank you for sharing, Petra. That was really powerful, and I think a very useful example as well. And I guess a lot of us, especially as adults, we so often find ourselves in situations where we really feel it in our body that this is not right for us, the situation, the people we are around, the particular action, and yet we still put ourselves through it. As you were saying, the mind gets engaged, like, no, you said yes, you need to do it. Mm-hmm. And we rarely pause to just say, well, do I? Who said so? Why?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's often, again, some underlying belief, right, that either the idea you have about what kind of person you are, and the kind of person you think you are would never have said no to what they committed to. Or so all of this starts playing in our mind quite unconsciously often. And the connection of the mind and body is so powerful, as you were saying, that in the end, if you keep on saying yes to the things that do not feel right for you, then the body will just start screaming louder and saying no in the ways where you can't really do much about. So I think that was really great that you've listened to your body. It will be really grateful for you. And I can't think of an immediate situation where I've listened to it. I've definitely become much better at it now, because for many years I was the kind of person, and that's how I thought about myself, that if I committed to something, I must follow through.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there is particular pride that we take in I'm the person who follows through.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there is a fine line, right? I don't know what you think about that, but there are obviously certain things where, yes, if we agree to meet, for example, for lunch or coffee, and I just last minute say, oh no, something doesn't feel right, I'll just not turn up. That's not what we're talking about,
No.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, is certain commitments are not really that fixed as we make ourselves think they are.
Yeah, I think we need to distinguish also these feelings. If you have maybe one person in your mind that you see that is calling you, and your whole body starts to shiver, then this person is not good for you. But when you have just the feeling, oh, I'm a bit tired today, I don't feel like doing it, this is not the same. It's not the same body reaction, you know. And I had that kind of like response to that person, like I don't want to see that person again, you know, because it's making me really not okay. But I remembered one other thing when we are talking about body response. I remember last year we've been in Brunei. Yeah. And it was really hot day, and the guide said, okay, now we're going to swim down the river. And my mind was just like, and all my body was, no. And I started to think about why this reaction, and it was my fear of unknown. And I think this is also not the same reaction as I was mentioning before, because when I realized that this is a fear of unknown, I went through it, and it was the most amazing feeling I ever had. And I really remember it like yesterday, floating on the river, and it was so fun when I said, okay, let's do it. So we have, I think, two types of body responses. Yeah.
That's a great distinction, actually, and thank you for sharing with the example. Because yes, there is that. We don't like the unknown. It's also a built-in protection safety mechanism, right? Because as we evolved from the tribes and living out in the nature, anything that's unknown was really unsafe. It could have killed us. So we had to stick to what we know. So there is that, oh, I don't know it, or I've never done it, or it sounds a bit unsafe, I don't want to do it. But that's very different. And I don't know if you have any tips on how to tell which one it is, but my take on it is probably it's just a matter of really practice, and also having that internal dialogue, like, okay, what's going on here, and just spending a moment or two just reflecting, and then we can probably tell.
Yeah, this was a good point, what you said just now. I think awareness around the problem, around why you feel the way you feel, it's huge. Also, when you go, I think you have a lot of people coming to you that have this stage fright, that they are afraid to speak in front of public. And I think this is also your body is telling you, don't do that, because maybe you will be criticized, maybe you will be judged, maybe you will do a mistake. But this is not the kind of body reaction that you would say, okay, I'm gonna listen to it, because if I prepare myself to do it, and if I want to do it, then I'm gonna do it. And it's okay that I feel a bit anxious before I go to the stage, because then I'm gonna do it even better, maybe for some people. So I think it's really important that you know why I feel the way that I do, am I afraid of being judged? Am I afraid of being, of making a mistake? Am I afraid of being criticized? Or is it against my rules? Or this whole situation is feeling, is just making me feel like something's gonna be really, really wrong.
Yeah. And I think that's also, you know, our intuition, right? Because back to the roots, when we were living out in the wild and we needed to adapt, we wouldn't have survived much longer in those conditions had we not been so attuned to our gut feeling, to the intuition, just that little sensations that something is off. And maybe it was just the sound, and which meant the predator is approaching that's going to attack you, and you can't really place it, but you just know something is off. And I think that's the echo of that now coming up in that body response, like, no, this is not good for you. And from the point you were making, what stood out for me as well is the wanting to do it when it's something that's more beneficial for you, like speaking on stage, for example. Like, you really know you want to do it, but there is fears. That's very different from just engaging and being in a situation or thinking about situation and knowing like, no. And there is no benefit there, let's say, in engaging it, rather than that commitment that you made out of some sort of obligation that you feel.
Yeah. Just sticking to the rules that you made for yourself when you were little, and you don't even know that you have those rules. And this is interesting, when you find out that you have some rules about how you should live your life, to what you should say yes, to what you should say yes, and then you just limit your life to like really shrink it, and you leave it only here inside because everything else is forbidden, or you cannot do it, or you shouldn't do it, or yeah. So let's explore.
You know what came to my mind now, and I don't know if you're a big Friends fan. I love Friends, the series, you know. So if you know the episode that came to my mind now is there was a scene where Rachel took Joey on a boat, and she suddenly became very bossy, and at some point she yells at him, "Greens don't give up," and she was so into her father's mode, you know. Then later she was like, "Oh my God, I'm my father." So that was her story, the rule that she picked up, like, Greens don't give up. And Joey just sipping on a beer, being him, was like, well, I'm a Tribbiani's do give up. And that was his story. And they were in the same situation, but it's like completely without any awareness. They just react in a way that they've been trained to.
They both played out their life scenarios. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think, you know, there's this kind of really those fixed beliefs and autopilot mode, if you like. It really gets engaged in more stressful situations. So when life is good, when everything is smooth, it's easier for us to engage our prefrontal cortex and being a bit more thoughtful and choose how to respond. But when things get a bit stressful, that's when all the patterns just get loose, right?
Do you have any exercise or any tips for people when they get into these kind of situations, how to listen to themselves or how to navigate those situations?
I think the really important one, as you mentioned earlier, is the awareness. And you need to cultivate the awareness, because we are not trained as we grow up to be mindful. So many people live their entire lives just completely compulsively doing things because that's how their 5 generations before them have been doing things, not questioning, not realizing what is going on. But actually being more mindful is already a step forward. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And one exercise really is to find 10, 15, 20, as many minutes you can afford in a day, and just sit with a piece of paper and really have a think about all the situations in the past week or months, whatever time frame you select, where you really wanted to say no to something, but you said yes instead. And also the other way around, because sometimes we want to say yes to something, but we don't, because we are holding ourselves back. Especially, I think women tend to do this, and women with families, when they put the needs of others first, and maybe she would love to do something for her, but then she would be like, no, I don't have the time, I need to do things for my family, you know. So writing those things down is a very good starting point in my experience. What would you recommend?
Writing down is, I love writing down things, but I would just, you reminded me on something. Like, I have some friends that are from Lebanon, and in their culture is when you ask something, like you offer them something, they have to say no for 2 times, and for the 3rd time they can say okay, yes. So they have this cultural thing, like, do you want to have the last piece of cake? And you would say no, and I said to you, but come on, it's the last one, come on, take it. No, 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 I cannot take it. Come on, take it. Okay, I will take it, because they want to take it. And I remember the scene when we were in some meeting, and she asked, oh, do you want to have the last cake? And the guy said yes, and he took it, you know. And she was like, oh, how could you do that? You know, because she was expecting, like, they would go on and in and up and just back and forth, and she would get the last piece of cake, you know. But she asked him, and he said yes, because in our Western culture, it's like, if you want something, say yes, you know. So it's also this navigating the different cultures, it's a bit different. But if we go back to that body awareness, I like to do exercise when I feel that sensation in my body. Where is it? Where do I feel it? And is it in my chest? Is it in my stomach? Is it in my throat? And then I try to see that feeling, like, how does it look like? Is it solid? Is it fluid? Is it dynamic? It's static? Is really, how does it feel like? How, if I would put it out, what would be here on my hand? And then I just try to see what kind of message does this feeling have for me. So is it afraid? Is it feeling vulnerable? Or why is this feeling here? And then when I get to know this feeling, and usually it goes something way back when I was a little kid, then I can make better decisions. If I want to go through with it, or is it just some scared little Petra talking, or is it something that is real, that is really now present? This danger is now here, and I don't want to be in this situation, and it's better for me if I move out or do something else or be really proactive. So I think this is also, for me, it's a nice exercise. But you need like half an hour or 2 hours to sit down with it and just do it.
Yeah, I think ideally yes, but at the same time I wouldn't want people to get discouraged, you know, because it's difficult to find hours and hours of time nowadays. But I'm really big fan also of this kind of body awareness and body related work. And in my experience, even if you spend 2 minutes just really pausing,
it's better than that.
Yes, and scanning and identifying, as you were saying, you know, throat, chest, belly, these are kind of head sometimes the most common areas. It could be arms, legs, whatever, but these are the most common areas. Just scanning what's going on. Is there tension? Is there tightness? What's the texture, color, shape? Just getting to know it. And sometimes even just saying, thank you for showing up.
Yeah.
You're welcome here. Whatever it is, it might not be pleasant, but you're welcome. What message?
That's important.
Yeah, what message do you have for me? And just being curious about it and accepting all parts, whatever they are, whatever came up. And what I find, you know, even if you spend a couple of minutes with it, just by allowing it to be there, by acknowledging it's there, very often it really calms down, subsides, and
disappears. Yeah.
So I love that kind of work. I think it's really powerful. It feels very odd when you do it for the first time or the first few times when you're new to this. It may sound to you guys a little bit odd if you've never done this before, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's like, oh, okay, here's the part, or this is a sensation, and this is the emotion, and this is what it's telling me, and it's from now, or it's from the past, as you were saying. It's a little Petra. Yeah, you just practice and learn it.
There is a theory out that if every emotion that we feel, if we don't attach it to some story, is there for 90 seconds. So if you, like you said, accept it, feel it, welcome it, it will just go away. But if you start to think about it and to dwell on it and just, why are you here? Why again? Why this? And then we put a lot of baggage on and it stays. Yeah.
And this way also we're almost rejecting it. It's like, oh, you're not good. Well, it is good. It is there for a reason. As all the emotions are. So
yeah. So we're gonna give our audience one exercise that they can use for as we wrap up this our little chat. Yeah, lovely chat.
Yeah. Yeah, so would we ask for the exercise of paying attention to the body, or did you have anything else in mind?
just to maybe check your body sensation, maybe not to be so much in the head, but just go into the body once a day for 30 seconds.
Yeah, and I think, it's such a foreign land for many people who've never done it. We all live in our heads pretty much. So guys, if you think I feel nothing in my body, you can start by feeling your feet on the ground, feeling your bum on the chair wherever you're sitting, feeling your back against the support. And that's how you start feeling your body. And then you may become more aware and it's like, oh, there is actually something here and there. But that's a starting point. And and if you have a bit more time, I would also invite you to think about and write down maybe 5 times when you said no and you wanted to say yes, or the other way around in the past months.
I'm gonna do that exercise for sure. Yeah.
And I think just also to wrap up, and unless you have anything else to add, I think circling back to where we started and the conversation about that we often carry on with commitments that do not sit right with us on a body level, because we feel we have to, because we said we would. I think a lot of it comes from the conditioning from early childhood, as we discussed as well. And it's almost always rooted in the deep-seated feeling of shame. And shame is one of the strongest emotions because it's got all to do with potentially being rejected by your tribe. And we depended for survival on belonging to a group of people we lived in. And so, of course, if this is what our parents have taught us, that you need to be a certain way, and if you said you will do something, you must do it. When you don't follow through, there is almost automatically this shame coming up, which is a very powerful emotion. And I would love for us to talk about it next week, and that you're on board with it. And
that's a good
if our listeners,
topic.
I think it's just very relatable for many people.
Yeah, it's a good topic. So yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, so if anyone wants to share between today and next Monday anything that they've dealt with around shame, or anything you're struggling with shame related, feel free to reach out to either Petra or myself, and we will try our best to cover it and address it next Monday.
Yeah. And don't forget to like and share and comment on this Mindful Mondays talk. We would be really happy for your feedback and support with one like. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you everyone who joined us live, or whoever is watching us in replay. And we'll be back next Monday, same time, with talk around shame.
Yeah.
Have a lovely week.
Bye.
Take care. See you.
Ciao.
Bye.